What if memory could lie? Or more accurately, what if history itself is an edited manuscript, shaped not by the limits of human brilliance, but by the boundaries of what is economically permissible? We are often taught that technological progress is a linear ascent, a steady climb from darkness into light. We believe that when a revolutionary idea is born, it is naturally embraced, tested, and integrated into the fabric of civilization. But the archives of human curiosity tell a more complex, far more haunting story. These erased inventions represent more than lost opportunities for technological progress. They form the outline of an alternative reality, one where innovation isn't limited by scientific possibility, but by economic permission. Behind closed doors, breakthrough technologies exist, but remain hidden because they threaten the profit margins of industries built on artificial scarcity and planned obsolescence. This is a journey through the echoes of a future we were promised, but never allowed to inhabit. It is a story of minds that saw beyond the horizon and the systematic silence that followed their greatest epiphanies. As we open these forgotten chapters, we must ask ourselves, how many miracles have we traded for the comfort of the familiar? In the fading twilight of 1899, a strange, skeletal monolith rose against the sky of Long Island, New York. This was the laboratory of a man who listened to the silent frequencies of the universe. Here, Nikola Tesla developed a wireless power transmission system that could provide unlimited free electricity to the entire world. His vision materialized in the Wardenclyffe Tower project, an architectural marvel that successfully demonstrated this groundbreaking technology, powering electrical devices across Long Island without any wires or fuel sources. Tesla's system did not burn coal or consume oil. It worked by tapping into what he called radiant energy, an invisible sea of electromagnetic radiation that permeates all space and can be converted into usable electricity. His tower created a resonance effect with the Earth's natural electrical field, essentially turning the entire planet into a wireless power source. The implications were staggering, threatening to eliminate the need for power companies, coal mining, and oil consumption. When J.P. Morgan, the project's financier, realized that free energy would destroy the profit model of the electrical power industry, he immediately withdrew funding. Morgan reportedly asked a question that would define the next century of human commerce. If anyone can draw on the power, where do we put the meter? Within 2 years, the project was completely shut down. The tower was demolished, and all evidence of Tesla's breakthrough was systematically destroyed. Following his death in 1943, federal agents seized his research, and the FBI confiscated over 80 trunks of documents, including detailed blueprints for global wireless power. We are left to wonder, if the Earth itself is a boundless reservoir of energy, what does it mean that we are still digging in the dirt to keep the lights on? Long before the birth of quantum mechanics, a quiet revolution was orchestrated in a smoky Philadelphia workshop. It was 1872, and an inventor named John Worrell Keely was listening to the secret music of matter. He developed a motor that ran on what he called sympathetic vibration, extracting unlimited energy from sound waves and molecular resonance. Keely believed in an etheric force, a vibrational energy that he claimed existed within all matter. By creating specific acoustic frequencies, his device could tap into this molecular motion and convert it into mechanical work. Observers watched in awe as public demonstrations showed Keely's motor lifting enormous weights and powering industrial equipment using only sound waves generated by tuning forks and acoustic devices. The device generated thousands of horsepower using only these simple musical instruments and resonators. For a brief, shining moment, the world was on the precipice of an industrial renaissance. The Keely Motor Company was formed in 1874 with funding from wealthy investors who recognized the revolutionary implications of his work. But as development progressed, a chilling realization swept through the boardrooms. Keely's technology would make existing industrial infrastructure obsolete, destroying fortunes built on coal, steam, and mechanical power. Systematic sabotage of Keely's work began in 1881. When he refused to surrender the complete principles behind his motor, funding was abruptly withdrawn, and legal action was taken to seize his equipment. Following his death, his work was debunked by investigators funded by the very same investors who had a financial interest in suppressing the technology. If a simple harmonic chord can move mountains, why do we insist on breaking the earth with fire and iron? Perhaps the true power of the universe responds not to force, but to resonance. Gravity is the invisible anchor of the human experience, the immutable law that binds us to the soil. But in a quiet laboratory in 1928, a physicist named Thomas Townsend Brown found a way to slip the moorings. He discovered that electrically charged objects experience a force that appears to defy gravity. Brown's breakthrough emerged from a simple observation. Capacitors, devices that store electrical charge, experience a net force when charged with high voltage, moving toward their positive electrode to create thrust, without any propellant or moving parts. This phenomenon, known as the Biefeld-Brown effect, suggested that electricity and gravity were connected in ways that contradicted Einstein's general relativity. By 1952, Brown had successfully demonstrated his anti-gravity technology to military officials, using disc-shaped capacitors that achieved speeds of several hundred miles per hour using only electrical energy, with no jets or propellers. His electrogravitics research promised to revolutionize human mobility, enabling silent aircraft that could hover indefinitely using only battery power. But a sky filled with silent, fuel-less ships changes the geography of global power. If electrogravitics could enable revolutionary aircraft capabilities, controlling the technology would provide decisive military advantages. By 1956, the research was suddenly classified under national security orders, making public discussion of the technology illegal. Brown's patents were seized, his facilities closed, and his documentation vanished from public view. When a discovery has the potential to lift humanity into the stars, who has the right to chain it to the ground? The 1960s were an era defined by the roar of rocket engines and the harsh consumption of fossil fuels. Yet far from the public eye, a British electrical engineer named John Searle was quietly building a machine that whispered. Searle developed a magnetic generator that produced unlimited free energy while demonstrating anti-gravity effects that allowed it to lift off the ground and fly. The Searle effect generator, or SEG, was a masterpiece of unconventional physics. It consisted of magnetic rollers that orbited around magnetized rings in specific geometric patterns. As the rollers moved, they generated electrical current through magnetic induction, simultaneously creating anti-gravity effects that reduced the device's apparent weight to zero. Witnesses described seeing these generators floating above their mounting platforms, producing kilowatts of power continuously without fuel or any apparent energy source. Searle's invention combined free energy generation with anti-gravity propulsion in a single device. If developed, magnetic generators could provide unlimited power, revolutionize transportation, and eliminate dependence on conventional electrical generation. But true independence is rarely permitted by those who control the grid. In 1968, British authorities raided Searle's laboratory, confiscated his equipment, and claimed his generators were creating electrical interference with aircraft navigation systems. All SEG devices were destroyed, and Searle was prohibited from continuing his research, eventually spending years in prison. When a man builds a machine that can power a neighborhood from the air, and his reward is a locked cell, we must question the very nature of the society we are building. Look at a river winding through a valley, or a hawk riding a thermal. Nature does not move in straight lines, and it does not operate through explosive destruction. In the 1940s, an Austrian inventor named Victor Schauberger realized that humanity's reliance on combustion was a fundamental misunderstanding of the universe. Schauberger developed revolutionary engines that generated power through implosion rather than explosion. Instead of blasting outward like conventional engines, his technology created spiral vortex patterns in air and water that concentrated energy inward. This vortex implosion process generated tremendous power while actually cooling the engine and producing pure, energized air and water as byproducts. His repulsing implosion engine achieved remarkable performance, operating almost silently and becoming more efficient the longer it ran. It appeared to extract more energy from fuel than conventional combustion chemistry should theoretically allow. It offered pollution-free energy generation that could actually reverse environmental damage. But this harmonious technology was quickly swallowed by the machinery of war. Confiscated by Allied forces after World War II, Schauberger was interrogated and released with strict warnings never to continue his research. Later forced to sign contracts giving complete control of his inventions to American corporations, he died broken in 1958. His life's work classified and removed from public access. We have built an entire civilization on the logic of explosion, tearing the earth apart to harvest its heat. What kind of world might we have inherited if we had learned to pull things together instead? These erased inventions prove that the world we inhabit isn't the world we could have. It's simply the world that certain powers have decided we're allowed to have. From the silent, glowing fields of Long Island to the harmonic workshops of Philadelphia, a pattern emerges across decades and continents. Brilliant inventors create revolutionary technologies, demonstrate their profound effectiveness to credible witnesses, and then face systematic persecution through patent seizure, equipment confiscation, and legal harassment. The technologies that could eliminate poverty, provide unlimited clean energy, and transport us to the stars exist. But they've been locked away to preserve an existing order that benefits from human limitation and dependence. What unites these suppressed breakthroughs isn't scientific impossibility, but the profound economic and political threat they represent. Free energy would fundamentally eliminate utility companies. Anti-gravity would revolutionize transportation and render traditional aerospace obsolete. Each technology was systematically suppressed precisely because it challenged industries worth trillions of dollars. As we look toward the future, we carry the ghosts of these forgotten machines with us. The innovations that could have created a golden age of human prosperity remain buried in classified vaults or have been destroyed entirely. The greatest tragedy isn't that these inventions were lost. It's that they were deliberately hidden, ensuring that human potential remains artificially constrained while revolutionary solutions to our greatest challenges remain forever just out of reach. Yet, ideas are like water. They are incredibly difficult to contain forever. The blueprints may be burned and the towers may be torn down, but the principles of the universe remain unchanged, waiting patiently for the next quiet mind to rediscover them. The vault of history is sealed tightly, but the lock is only made of fear. When the day comes that our desire for human flourishing outweighs our tolerance for engineered scarcity, we may finally hear the turning of the key. Until then, we are left to wonder, what other miracles are waiting in the dark?